Hi there, and welcome to Hibbert's Hangout. Today on the channel we've got a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol in which it'll be Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy taking on Thanos and his Black Order. The threats being played today are Gamma Wave sweeps across Midwest, which is 3 Gamma shelters on map E, and we have Research Station attacked, which is 1 researcher in the center and then 2 evac points on either edge, also on map E. The threat level being played today is 15, so then we'll show you the squads and then get into the game from there. So then, this is the 15th threat of the Black Order, which is Ebony Maw, Thanos the Mad Titan, and Black Dwarf. Team tactics cards for the Black Order include the Price of Failure, Mothership, Blood to Spare, Shh, and Power of the Cosmos. The Guardians of the Galaxy being led today by Star-Lord include Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Gamora, and Drax the Destroyer. The team tactics cards for the Guardians include Crew of the Milano, Lovable Misfits, Deadly Duo, We Are Groot, and Kick 'em While They're Down. And here we have today's board all set up, pretty straightforward, as we have all the objectives on map C, which is just straight across the middle. And on the far side and the near side are the 2 evac points, the researcher in the center, and then underneath all 3 of those are the Gamma shelters. Here we are after deployment for the Black Order. We have Ebony Maw on top of the building. In the center is Thanos, and to his left-hand side, Black Dwarf. Pretty much just along the center of the map. As for the Guardians themselves, they're also pretty much just bunched in the middle, as we've got Rocket and Drax on top of the Daily Bugle, Star-Lord in the center, and Groot and Gamora to his right-hand side. So the Guardians did win priority, and it's Rocket getting us started first. He just did 2 short movements to get himself within 1 of the Gamma shelter so he can secure that for his team. And that's all he decided to do for his turn. So the Black Order, to start things off, have decided to pass for their first turn to see where the Guardians go next. So then we had Groot for the Guardians, who just did his 2 short advances to get himself within contesting range of the center objectives. So then we had Ebony Maw. He just decided to sail down from his building and stand within 1 of their own Gamma shelter. So for the Guardians we had Drax the Destroyer. He just decided to do 2 medium movements to get himself within 1 of the central objective. So then we had Black Dwarf for the Black Order. He, much like everyone else, has just done 2 moves to get himself within contesting range of 1 of the objectives, this time being the center. Then it was Star-Lord for the Guardians. Perhaps being a little bit hot-headed, he moved up medium and decided to make an element gun shot into Black Dwarf. However, he did no damage to him. Star-Lord, however, is still within range 2 of the Gamma shelter, so he won't be taking a point of damage. To finish things off this round for the Black Order was Thanos himself, and he just did 2 medium movements to get himself within contesting range of the center objectives. To finish things off this round is Gamora. She just made use of her 2 long advances to get within the center objective, and will be securing that for the Guardians. So this is how the board looks at the end of round number 1. We have Ebony Maw holding 1 shelter for the Black Order, whereas the Guardians hold their own shelter and have also secured the researcher. No one's going to be taking a point of damage due to the Gamma Wave, as everyone is within 2 of 1 of the shelters. So at the end of round number 1, the Black Order will be scoring 1 point for holding their own Gamma shelter, whereas the Guardians will be jumping up to 5 points for holding the center objective for 2, their own shelter for 1, and they also hold on to the researcher for that other 2 points as we head in to round number 2. So during the power phase of round number 2, the Guardians have decided to move the researcher towards their evac point, which is the wrong way for them, but they do have the numbers advantage over there, and it's pretty tight movement, so the Black Order might not be able to get within contested range. So to start things off was Thanos, and as you can see, he had fun. Started things out by striking into Drax, which got through for 2 points of damage, but did get a wild, so he threw him into the building. Drax then put his vengeance token onto Thanos. Thanos then did a strike into Gamora, which would have dealt 5 damage. However, he once again got a wild, so this time he threw her into Groot. And this dealt 3 damage to Groot, who was unable to block any of it. And then Thanos just began portaling people. As you can see, he's moved Groot 2, put Drax up on the building, and he's also pushed Rocket back 2, so he can't just shoot into him twice. So pretty effective turn for Thanos right there. So for the Guardians was Groot. He just moved a short to get within one of the center gamma shelter and the researcher again. And then he just did a 5-dice strike into Thanos. This did 1 point of damage to him. Groot has also paid his 2 power to remove 3 of his damage, so he's back to full health. So then we had Black Dwarf up for the Black Order. He paid his 2 for his Enforced Oblivion, did his short advance on top of the Fisk building, and then did his 8-dice axe strike into Star-Lord. This would have dealt 4 points of damage, and then he'd followed that up with a second axe strike. This time has been empowered by Thanos, paying his 2 power for a Death's Decree, and that would have done 6 extra damage to Star-Lord. Needless to say, he's dazed and won't be getting a turn this round. And just so it's covered here, Black Dwarf is within one of the researcher, so we'll be securing that one along with Groot. For the Guardians, we had Drax. He did a medium move and then paid 3 power for a Titan Killer, and it was going into the Mad Titan. He was rolling 9 die as he's got 3 points of damage, and Thanos had a Vengeance token. However, he only did 1 point of damage, which Thanos automatically blocks, but it was the wild, so he did get to throw him, and he threw him straight back into Ebony Maw, who paid his 2 power to buff his defenses. However, he still took 2 points of damage, but he'll be getting that 2 points of power back. So it will be Ebony Maw finishing things off for the Black Order, but him and Black Dwarf have both spent 2 power for him to be moved up the board via Mothership. So Ebony Maw did get teleported down from the Mothership, and then he just did a Black Tongue into Groot. He also got a wild, so Groot was advanced short. He pushed him away, so Groot's out in no man's land, and Groot took 3 points of damage. Ebony Maw then paid 4 power for Herald of Doom and did it into Rocket. However, Rocket was able to block all incoming damage, but he was thrown short into the Daily Bugle, and he'll be taking a point of damage that way. So Rocket has done a medium movement to get within contesting range of their own gamma shelter. Rocket and Groot have then spent 2 power each for Deadly Duo, and Rocket will be making his plasma rifle shots. And there you go into Black Dwarf, Thanos, and Ebony Maw. And as you see after the shots, Thanos took 2 points of damage, Black Dwarf took none, and Ebony Maw also took none the first time around. But Rocket had an action left, and he just decided to fire again into Ebony Maw. And this time it got through for 3 points of damage as we had round 2. So here's how the board's looking at the end of round number 2. The Black Order are able to secure the researcher with Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf, and the Guardians are holding on to their own gamma shelter. Speaking of that gamma, Groot and Ebony Maw will both be taking a point of damage for it. So at the end of round number 2, the Black Order will be scoring 2 points due to securing the researcher, and the Guardians will be going up from 5 to 6, thanks to Rocket holding on to their own gamma shelter. Flipping the cards is just on the Black Order team, which is Star-Lord and Gamora, as we head in to round number 3. And during the power phase of round number 3, the Black Order have advanced the researcher, so if they're able to secure it this round, that will net them 4 points. So started things out in round number 3 was Black Dwarf. He started this out by paying his power for Enforced Oblivion. He then did his short move and an axe strike into Star-Lord, who blocked the incoming damage. He wasn't happy about this, so he decided to axe strike him again, and again he rolled very poor, and Star-Lord was able to block it. So this time he just used his Black Fury and picked up the Fist building and launched it into Rocket, and that dealt 3 points of damage, necessary to daze him. So we're over to the Guardians, and they're starting things out by paying lovable misfits, and everyone who isn't dazed, Rocket, is paying a point of power, and they'll be rolling a die to find out what they do. So here's the board after the use of lovable misfits. Star-Lord got to advance short, so he's just repositioned himself near that researcher. Groot also rolled a block, so he's also advancing short, and did the same as Star-Lord, just advanced towards the researcher. Gamora, she also rolled a block, so she advanced towards Thanos and their Gamma Shelter. And Drax rolled a skull, so him and Black Dwarf both suffered stun. So we did have Star-Lord for the Guardians, and he started things out by paying 3 power for a full auto. Did this into Ebony Maw, and it got through for the 1 point of damage necessary to daze him. And he followed this up with another full auto, and this time into Black Dwarf, and that got through for 3 points of damage, and he's given him the bleed condition. So we did have Thanos for the Black Order. He started things out with a strike into Gamora, which did 3 damage, leaving her with 2 health remaining, even though she spent her power for martial prowess. Thinking he'd be able to take her out, he followed out with a second strike. Again, she paid for martial prowess. This time she was able to block it, so she would have dealt 2 points of damage into Thanos. He reduced that down to 1, but now it's on to the Guardians to see where they go from here. And just before he ends his turn, Thanos is actually going to spend 4 power, and that's 2 each, 1 to move Drax due to his cosmic portal, and 1 to move Gamora. So then we did have Gamora, and she just did 2 long advances to get to securing the Black Order's Gamma Shelter. So then we had Drax, and he just did a medium movement to get within securing range of the center Gamma Shelter, and then used his blades onto Black Dwarf. He did roll 5, but so did Black Dwarf in his defense, so he doesn't get the point of damage and power he wanted to be able to throw him away from that researcher. So here's how things look at the end of round number 3. You have the Guardians securing the center and their opponent's Gamma Shelters. However, their own and the researcher is contested between Black Dwarf and Groot. And we are just going to cover it. No one is outside of range 2 of a Gamma Shelter, so no one will be taking a point of damage from that. And at the end of round number 3, the only one scoring any points is in fact the Guardians of the Galaxy, as they will be scoring 5 points, taking them from 6 all the way up to 11 as they hold the center and their opponent's Gamma Shelter. Flipping their cards as we head into round number 4 will be Rocket for the Guardians and Ebony Maw for the Black Order. So Ebony Maw did get things started in round number 4 for the Black Order, and he just did a Herald of Doom into Star-Lord, which would have done 6 points of damage, so Star-Lord has been taken out of the game. He followed this up with a Herald of Doom into Groot. However, this time he rolled 1 hit, which Groot was able to block. So with Ebony Maw being able to take out Star-Lord, the Black Order go up from 3 points all the way up to 4, thanks to Thanos' leadership. Then it was Drax for the Guardians. He just did a blades into Black Dwarf's back, and this got through for 3 points of damage, so Black Dwarf has been dazed. So with Black Dwarf being dazed, he's used that 3 power he's just generated from being attacked, and he's used it to pay for blood to spare. He has done an attack, and this ended up going into Groot. So Groot was Rocket's personal bodyguard, and he just took 1 point of damage from Black Dwarf's attack. For his second action, Drax is just going to shake his stun condition. For the Black Order was Thanos, the Mad Titan. He started things out by cosmic portaling Gamora into striking range. So he did that into her. However, she does have martial prowess. She paid her power. She was able to block the damage. She has dealt 1 back to Thanos. Thanos wasn't happy about this, as he got a push in his attack, so he's pushed her away short. This time she's out of range 2, but within 3, so he's done a cosmic blast, upping its damage by spending 1 power, and it would have dealt 4 to her, so she has been taken out of the game. And then Thanos has just portaled Drax off of the center objective. So that was a lot to cover there with Thanos' turn, all to net them 1 victory point due to his leadership and him taking out Gamora. So then we had Rocket for the Guardians, and he's just advanced medium to secure the center Gamma Shelter. And with that, The little guy has won the game for the Guardians. So the Guardians would go up the 5 points necessary, taking them from 11 all the way to 16 in round number 4, as Rocket would get 2 for the central gamma shelter, Groot gets 1 for holding their own, and since he's the only person who's not dazed around the researcher, he'll also claim that one for the win for the Guardians. So it was the Guardians today with the win. Thanks to their plucky attitude, they were able to take it to Thanos and his Black Order with quite a one-sided win of 16 points to only 5. I think the Guardians just outswarmed the Black Order here today due to having 5 activations to their 3, and they're able to jump on all the objectives and just outscore them. End up really being quite a one-sided game victory points wise, but the Guardians were starting to look a little worse for wear, but they were able to take it to Thanos. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.